QA hell. Heads roll. Blizzard director and others fired as new revelations deepen crisis. Guess it's time for some more Blizzard negativity. Let's see what's happening in here. So this was something where Blizzard fired the director of Diablo 4, which all of you Diablo 4 fans out there, things weren't looking good for that game to begin with. They're probably going to be looking even worse now.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the news, where once again, of course, we've got a cheery update for Blizzard Entertainment, the top company for whom everything always goes right. Staff have been ousted, the QA department has spoken up, and more sponsors are gone. It all paints a rather grim picture. And we begin with the most recent and perhaps more spicy thing, which is a bunch of names are gone. So Luis Barriga, Jesse McCree, and Jonathan LeCraft have all been let go. Now, this is a notable thing. Luis.
So, Luis, I knew he's from Diablo. It actually says there. But I know that he's from Diablo. The other ones, I don't really know that much. Diablo 4 lead designer and Overwatch hero namesake Jesse McCree. World of Warcraft senior designer Jonathan LeCraft. Source tell Kotaku that Corey Stockton, currently a lead game designer at Blizzard, was placed on leave last week, but seemingly remains with the company for now. I thought I read somewhere that Corey Stockton had also ditched. Damn. I thought Louise was I'm pretty sure that Louise was involved with Reaper of Souls as well, together with Josh Mosquera.
Diablo 4 game director. That's like, for a World of Warcraft person, the equivalent of Ian has a Costas going. So that's big. Luis is a major figure. In many ways as well, he has been the face of Diablo 4, holding down many of its big BlizzCon presentations. Now, also, Jesse McCree is gone. He's a lead designer in Diablo 4. And also, of course, Jesse McCree, the character in Overwatch, which could present Blizzard with some issues. And then there's also Jonathan LeCraft, who is a senior game designer for World of Warcraft. Now, a bunch of people have, of course, been wondering, what about Corey Stockton? Well, Corey Stockton is still with the company, though we don't exactly know what's going on because he was placed on leave last week, according to what Kotaku's sources have said. Now, that probably means he's been placed under... Usually the way this works is they're placed under a paid leave so that an investigation can take place. Either that investigation has came up clean for Corey Stockton, or it's just ongoing. Either way, Blizzard have not publicly announced any big things here. They've just been responding to press comment. So yeah, they haven't really commented on the departures beyond a brief statement that just confirmed that this stuff was happening. So this probably will be reassuring to some people, right? Here's what they said, that they have a deep, talented roster of developers already in place, and new leaders have been assigned where appropriate. They say they're just confident in their ability to continue progress and deliver games for their players and a good work environment for their staff. No reason's been given. No reason's been given. Now, it's the sort of thing where, look, if it was just these guys were at the Cosby Suite, that's why they no longer have a job, I think Corey would be gone already. I really doubt that's what it is. I guess I don't want to speculate, because speculating in a thing like this can kind of get you into a bit of a murky territory. I mean, Luis, what's he done? Nobody knows. But there's a bit of me that just thinks it's probably not just being the Cosby Suite. It's probably also behavior being dug up. But again, I would say we don't know anything, so don't jump to any conclusions, right?
This is the Diablo 4 development team right here.
We don't know with Stockton at all. And as for the people at other studios, I mean, we don't really know what's going on with Greg Street. I imagine that he is fine. I imagine as well, if he had done a bad thing, then certainly all of the incentives and everything would be aligned such that people would speak up about that had he done a bad thing. So perhaps he hasn't. I mean, hopefully he hasn't, because that would be a better world to be in.
Yeah.
Now, Blizzard are presented with a tricky problem here, because when they got rid of Alex Afrasabi, well, removing him from World of Warcraft was easy. You just despawn some NPCs, rename some items, With Jesse McCree, though, it is a bit more challenging. If they were going to remove McCree from Overwatch, well, what they have to do is rename the character, change him up, and then re-record a massive amount of dialogue for the game because, of course, it's Overwatch. Those dialogue barks really matter to the gameplay. So that's kind of challenging. Now, that said, are they going to remove McCree? We would really have no idea. But we should note that a pair of Overwatch League casters referred to the character McCree as the cowboy. So we don't really know, basically, is our situation. And that's it. We have got some heads rolling. Is there really anything else to say other than this is what people would sort of expect?
Not really. Outside of it kind of really doubles down on what Bobby Kotick was saying. And that, like, no one is safe. If you've been involved or impeded progress or impeded any of these problems, or, you know, like, literally watched them happen and did nothing about them, then you're also in trouble. Because, I mean, getting rid of the game director for Diablo 4, that is going to have serious impact on the game, the way the game has been developed, how the game
Forget about Diablo 4, it's over.
and how investors feel. Because they're like, oh, it's, like, really, really endemic with a company that you're firing these big name people, even to the point where, like, McCree is like, oh, the namesake of one of your characters is gone. That shows how serious they're being, in that they're like these are major problems they will have to deal with, especially from a public perspective. But they now actually, you know, they've kind of put their money where their mouth is, in a sense, where they're actually making sure that these people are gotten rid of. And like you were saying about what, like, not talking about what they've done. It's a case of, like, as Bob was saying, it's if they were impeding the solutions, not necessarily that they were themselves guilty of misconduct, but if misconduct happened, and especially these being senior figures, if misconduct historically happened under them, it was brought to their attention and they didn't take steps to solve it, then they're part of the problem.
So I guess for an example then, let's just say Hazakosis is leading the WoW team. Alex Afrasabi's doing bad stuff. Maybe Ian raises it to management. Stuff like that happens. Then Afrasabi meets Jab. Unfortunately, it's a slap in the wrist. And maybe that's a part of why Jab's no longer there.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps.
But at least in that case, Ian would have done the right thing in his capacity to do so.
Yeah.
And I bring this up because if you'd have were to flip that on the Diablo team and they had somebody who was engaging in Afrasabi-like behavior, the game director knew about it and maybe covered it up because it would be, you know, not useful to have that person be implicated in something, then you could sort of see why. Impossible to speculate, but I think that's just the sort of thing that could be going on. Should also say, by the way, the Overwatch League stuff, like, that was just the casters.
Yeah,
to be clear, it wasn't an edict from Blizzard, but there's a lot of players who are calling for that, and seemingly there are Overwatch community members and people who work with the Overwatch League who are kind of not operating as if McCree wasn't called McCree, but they're at least paying lip service to it. So, yeah, rough. But it's going to get rougher because we have our next part of today's story, which is Activision Blizzard's QA department speaking out. Basically, loads of statements and testimony.
Remember when I said that, you know, Blizzard doesn't actually have a QA department, or they're not listening to their QA department, or, you know, there's something going on in the QA department? This should be interesting.
Were provided to Kotaku by the ABK Workers Alliance. And there's a bunch of highlights here, although, of course, it's QA. So you know what it's going to be. Long hours, low pay, instability, people being treated like they are just a replaceable resource. So we've got most work weeks being between 50 and 60 hours, others saying 70 hours, and the pay being terrible. Now, the ABK Workers Alliance didn't share specific salary details other than saying that it's low, but the good news is we've got other stuff. So from Kotaku, one employee...
Soul Creek, thank you very much for the rate. Tip of the hat. Appreciate it.
Employee said that pay hovers around $14 an hour.
Oof.
$14 an hour. Now, this is interesting when we get into the money. Another person said between 15 and 17 an hour. Somebody who preferred to stay anonymous didn't share, but said that what they are paid, but they said they took a $7 an hour pay cut to get into Blizzard for QA, and it then took them 7 years to reclaim that $7 that they lost.
Yeah, I think we've heard that story.
Which is pretty damn grim. And Bloomberg recently did reveal that a lot of people they would get into Blizzard because of the prestige, and the pay cut is something that they would call the Blizzard tax. Now, this is not good stuff. Now, if you look at Glassdoor, it suggests that QA jobs are averaging about a $50,000 a year salary at the national level, but there are testimonies that suggest it's not so good. Now, the thing to really bring up here that's important is how much money this is for the location. So for the jobs in this role that are taking place in California, and I remember actually somebody, it wasn't for Blizzard, it was for Activision, but remember they emailed us, and I think, was it $13?
Yep.
Or something like that. They said they were being paid, and that was like in the LA area, I believe. Now, that's not a lot of money, and it's even worse in that region of the world. And I was looking at some tax calculators, and it seems like if you're in California and it's 50 a year, then you have an effective tax rate of like 18 point something %. And it was interesting comparing it to, basically, we are charged 20% tax here for all earnings under 37.5. That's called the basic rate, and it's 20%. And then anything, we also get a 12.5 grand sort of tax-free personal allowance. And it was just interesting comparing the compensation and stuff, and then thinking about the additional things that these people have to pay, because it's in the US. And as we're going to cover, the likes of, say, healthcare not being provided by the employer are issues that are faced, okay, not in California, but I believe in Texas. There's issues there with healthcare, let's just say. So it's like, they're taxed sort of similarly to us. They then have got to pay for their own healthcare, and also the likes of property. I mean, if people knew how much we paid here in Belfast for rent, and then thought about how much it cost them in California, it's way less than half what we will pay here. So it's not only that they're not being paid befitting of the skill and all of that labor, it's that even then for the region it's bad. So there's Billy, a QA tester, who said
we
they can't
talked
afford
about
to live
this.
in their own. I don't have loans of any sort or children, and I live with my partner, so I think I'm better off than most. But I know many people who literally cannot take time off work right now, despite their mental health being awful, because they won't be able to afford basic necessities such as rent and food. I have to live in a house with at least 3 other people to afford to survive without skipping meals, said another anonymous tester. Even with 4 breadwinning adults in the house, it's difficult to make ends meet while still being available to work for Activision QA. I mean, that's wild, right? QA is really important. I think people who play World of Warcraft know what it feels like for
QA to be complete shit. No wonder QA is so bad. These people can barely think about the game. They're just like, they go into work, and what are they thinking about? They're thinking about, oh man, I better make sure that I run by the store later to make sure that I get some friggin' ramen, because that's literally the only thing I can fucking afford. Eating ramen 3 times a day. And I mean just ramen, because they can't actually afford the fucking protein to put on the food. What the fuck?
Just not to feel like there's anywhere near enough QA going on. I mean, God love these people. The state of modern Blizzard releases is such that there's no universe where they have a big enough QA department. I don't care what the internal explanations is. The quality of their product is decreasing in terms of like those objective things that QA is supposed to be there to pick up and help resolve. And the poor fuckers who are there are being treated so badly by the company. I mean, no wonder this is awful for the staff and awful for the customers. Now, benefits are also iffy. Health and dental insurance, paid time off, and sick leave. So in the USA, paid sick leave is not mandated on a federal level. It is a state-by-state thing. One of Blizzard's contract studios is based in Texas, which does not mandate paid sick leave. QA testers being mainly on contract means the company's not obliged to give them full-time benefits.
There
Plus,
you
there's
go.
no protection when the contract expires.
There you go.
An employee could be let go, or they could be kept on for a undetermined amount of time. And basically, that just means somebody's in a position where they can't financially plan out their future, right? So they're in a trap. Employees say they feel they're eminently replaceable. Kotaku says that this is a recurring theme across many different employee testimonies, that you almost feel the desperation jumping off the page. I mean, this is bad stuff. From Polygon, they basically just say that Activision Blizzard reinforces a misconception that QA is unskilled work, something a monkey could do, according to one source. In reality, they're doing extremely important stuff, as Polygon point out. Yeah, these workers...
And that right there tells you everything you need to know. This is why the games fucking suck. Because if the opinion of the company is that a monkey could do QA work, there you go. That's the result that you get. You paid them like monkeys, you get fucking monkey work. There you go. That's what you fucking get, dude. That's what you fucking get. You paid them shit, you overwork them to fucking back, and you basically stress them the fuck out by telling them, oh, by the way, I could get a fucking monkey to do your job. That's a good way to ensure that someone's not going to be particularly productive. I can't even blame them. And here's the thing. I still believe that potentially some of these people are actually identifying the problems within the games, but because the concept within the company is that QA work is something even a monkey could do, they don't take their QA team seriously. Because, I mean, let's get real. Anybody that plays World of Warcraft for more than like 30 minutes can identify like 50% of the problems with Shadowlands, and none of those problems were addressed.
Told Polygon that higher-ups often emphasize to them that real developers are far or more important than QA workers, that the QA people are easily replaceable. And I will definitely tell you that from speaking to current and former staff and people in the industry, yeah, Blizzard's whole thing of raising up their developers and shielding their developers and protecting their developers has absolute toxic bullshit like this going on. There are departments that are not considered to be core development, like QA and stuff. I don't want to say any specific department names, but there's stuff like that where I've at least heard anecdotes of, yeah, the devs treat them like shit and don't respect them. Or, you know, at least institutionally, they're not well respected.
And
again, as I said, anybody who plays World of Warcraft who knows that, you know, you go to fight. I saw people today tweeting about Mythic Sylvanas. If the world boss is up in the latest zone they added to the game in patch 9.1, if that world boss is up and is being fought, the entire zone will go down. You will actually feel the lag. And for the 4 times that I've went to kill that world boss, I couldn't be bothered anymore, but for the 4 times that I did, it was literally non-functional due to lag. One time its core mechanics didn't work, another time I was waiting like 6, 7, 8 seconds for my spells to go off. I had a perfect connection. It was world lag. This is just examples of World of Warcraft honestly being a buggy piece of shit. I mean, for the last number of weeks, they've been pushing...
It's not even me saying it.
The new story quests, and there's just been more bugs than are acceptable. Right? This tells you that QA is extremely important. Yet, they should have obviously done a terrible job with it. And these people are not being treated well. You know? I mean, look at this quote. It's kind of hard to help someone who's telling me to kill myself on a daily basis, all because of a video game. This is a fun situation that's also cropped up, where people are taking out their frustrations at the company on the customer service staff, who absolutely do not deserve any of this shit, because here's the big thing. They almost certainly agree with the players and know that the whole situation is a piece of shit. The point is, it's all just the company failing everyone who is involved in this.
Silver Nitro, thank you very much for being for making 3 people grossly incandescent for a total of 19 gifted subs. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's 1 for you and 1, 2, 3 tips of the hat. Thank you. Thank you very much.
There's also an issue where basically Blizzard's internal programs always default to people's legal names, and this has resulted for some transgender people, you know, like their
being dead named,
sort of being, you know, coming up and being used, which is, you know, not the done thing in a situation like that. And, you know, it's a case of basic professionalism to do all of those things well. Another person reported that teammates refused to use their they-them pronouns, and they got hit with the classic, I identify as an attack helicopter. And the thing there is, like, the attack helicopter, I mean, it's like a meme from the internet and stuff. That's perhaps how whatever, I'm going to assume Manchild, who said that, brought it up. The thing is, though, there's a clear separation between the internet and between real life. And, you know, you could make an argument that it's all, you know, funny memes and stuff, the internet. But the thing is, when it enters into real life, almost regardless of what your personal opinion is on something, I mean, surely you're socialized and taught to treat others as you would like to be treated yourself, to treat people with respect.
It's definitely a respect thing. It's definitely a respect thing. And, you know, anyone that comes into my stream and tells me I identify as this or that or whatever, I'll most likely treat them by their preferred pronouns and all of that stuff. But there is a thing where there's been discussions in the past about that being legislation. I don't think it should be in the law that you're forced to do this because, you know, I respect people that respect me. Like if someone comes at me insulting me and shit, I'm not obliged to treat them by their pronouns or whatever. I'm not forced to respect anyone that I don't want to respect, but anyone that is respectful, you know, presents them, or anyone that, you know, I'm meeting for the first time and that I realize, oh, this person would rather be addressed as she or they or them or whatever they prefer, right? Well, yeah, that's fine. Sure. Whatever. I don't mind. You know, I'll respect someone. I'll give them the basic of respect until the point that I'm not respected, which is why I just don't think it should be law. That's the only thing that I would say to that.
You don't have to agree with somebody to respect them, right? There's like basic levels of human decency.
Yeah, exactly.
That
just be a decent human fucking being. It's not hard.
An employee reached out to HR about more sensitivity training, but didn't hear back for months. To be honest, see all that shit of like, oh, we've got a leadership consultant and a sensitivity training scheme. I am so doubtful that shit works.
It's like if you're hiring someone that you need to put them into sensitivity training for them to understand that, you know, maybe not treating somebody, maybe they shouldn't treat someone else like a piece of shit. Maybe that person just doesn't need to be hired, you know? It's like, or in the case of like the sexual harassment stuff, hey man, if you need to tell someone to go through like a sexual harassment seminar to make sure that they understand they shouldn't be touching the boobs of female employees without their permission or grabbing their ass or looking up their skirts without their permission, maybe just don't hire that person. You know, like if that ever comes up, maybe just don't hire that person. You know, it's just one of those things. It's one of those things, man. And this goes both ways, you know? Maybe if there's a female employee that likes grabbing a dude's nuts, and, you know, without their permission and unwarranted grabbing of the dick, you know, and if you think you need to send her to like a sexual harassment thing, maybe just don't hire this person. I don't know. It's like, maybe fire them. But boobs, but fucking consent, Trethian. But fucking consent.
As like, you know, administering a pill after the problem has happened. But, you know, this is the sort of thing, basic professionalism and decency covers this. At the end of the day, we are all going to have to band together in order to do great work and accomplish great things. And if that's going to happen, then lots and lots of people from different backgrounds are going to have to come together. That's just how it is. Now, a strong sort of, you know, mission-focused company is going to know that it's very important for them to make sure that's all happening with harmony and that decency and professionalism are being applied, because those are the ways that you get lots of people who don't agree on everything to actually band together and to get the shit done that they need to get done. And by doing that, you foster respect and you end up fostering understanding and overall situations being better. But if you let the bullshit happen, you don't reinforce that basic professionalism is something you should practice in the workplace, then no shit, you're going to have problems appear. And yeah, it could be something like this, which is obviously disrespectful. It could also be someone groping a boob. That has happened at Blizzard. So from Kotaku here, another one. The legacy of Blizzard is all about You're working at Blizzard, aren't you lucky? But the reality is we were constantly dealing with difficult people in a culture that cares little for mental health and expects the same kind of smile all the time as retail does, one anonymous tester said. The only way for this to truly change is to change the culture and the attitudes of the people in charge. Absolutely is the case. And, I mean, I've heard anecdotes of just...
They've changed the people in charge. Is that going to be enough to change the culture? I don't know. But I definitely, according to the research that Bellular did, it definitely seemed like it was a step in the right direction. So I'm curious to see how that is going to play out. But I don't think it's going to be something that we're going to be, seeing in the next couple of months. I think it's going to be something that needs to change out over a year, because when that culture comes from the top, like I think there was that video. Actually, I don't know if I watched that video on stream. There was a video where there was actually a discussion about how Mike Morhaime married someone who his wife was working below him, and somebody else in the company that was also a well-known name also married someone who was working below them, and there was just like multiple cases of that in Blizzard, and that's just fucked up power dynamics. Like, can you love your secretary or whatever? Yeah, you probably can, but it's still a fucked up power dynamic. And if everybody in the company is doing it, you can imagine how that kind of promotes that type of, behavior from the rest of the staff.
Just the people who basically live at the campus get real weird. Real weird. Now, look, I've been to the Blizzard campus. Wasn't really as cool as I was expecting it to be, honestly. I don't know. That aside, I could because looking around me, and especially from the perspective of being not in America, right, somewhere where towns arose in a very different manner, and I'm just looking around, seeing an endless sea, a massive urban sprawl of like all of these prefabs and chain restaurants and stuff, and I thought, oh bloody hell, I could totally see how I'd live in the office if I was here. And indeed, people who live in that area have said to me, like, yeah, that is kind of what it's like. Though I should say there are very nice parts of that region that people have since showed me, and I was very glad to be able to see that. But point stands, you just have all these people living in the office, and that can lead to weird, screwy things. So yeah, screwy things going on. QA people being treated like shit. What's new?
I mean, this is the thing. It shows how bad a state it is that you've got Bloomberg, Kotaku, and Polygon all coming out with... I mean, there's decent overlap in stories, but a lot of them have unique sources, unique people speaking to them, which goes to show that the teams are singing like canaries now. Mm-hmm. They know they're no longer... Like, the spell's been broken. Like, the charm that Blizzard have over them as they employ them seems to be actually shattered now, to the point where they're going, well... Obviously, more voices that come out will mean there's less culpability and less chance of you getting got if they're busy, as opposed to whistleblowing any other time. But now you've got 3 independent places going, here's, we're getting these people coming to us and telling us all these stories. It shows us like just the employees have had enough. And I think that's like kind of obvious with everything that's been like said through here. But it's like specifically the seeming lack of common decency in some members of the team is something that it actually reminds me of what we were talking about the other day with the idea of the gaming addiction stuff from the UK press, and it's just that idea of that's probably not necessarily like a really deep problem that someone thinks that way. It's likely a manifestation of them, like, under what circumstance would someone not have that common decency for another person, especially someone they work with? Like, what state do you have to be in to treat someone poorly in that sense, or to make fun of them, or anything like that? And the only like logical answer I can come to in my head is because that person's probably also suffering massively by virtue of living in that job, being in that job.
Basically, what we're pulling it back to high school.
Yeah, it's just the idea of these people aren't happy. They're not getting paid enough. They have to share an apartment with 3 people despite being grown adults working in the video game industry. How do you expect anyone to do good work or show up at work the next day and go...
Dude, if you really analyze this whole thing, Blizzard cares about as much for their employees as they care about their players. Like, right? Just think about it. They don't even give a shit about. We already know they don't give a shit about the players, so long as the players are, putting money into the game. It's like the players could be having the worst time of their lives, trying to love this game, trying to play this game that they used to love, just as a social thing almost, because like we've discussed multiple times, one of the biggest draws of World of Warcraft is the social aspect, right? And Blizzard doesn't give a fuck. And it's the same thing with large swaths of their company. They don't give a fuck. Are you productive? Good. Keep working. We don't give a fuck about you. Fucking burn in hell. Fucking live in a house with 10 fucking people and do not come to the company's fucking cafeteria to eat because you can't fucking afford it. Fuck you. We don't care. Has literally been the way that they've been running their shit. It's literally the way that they've been running their shit. I stressed the 150 million bonus for Kotick again. I've said it before. Like the amount of money that Kotick rakes in, he could literally save this company if he wanted to. If he just wanted to, he can make this company profitable and a good place to work in the long term. But he doesn't. You know what Bobby Kotick wants? He wants more fucking money. Motherfucker, you're not going to live long enough to spend all that fucking money. Neither is your family. Like if your kids have 10 kids and their kids have 10 kids and they live out their lives to be 100, every single one of these people will not be able to spend all of Bobby Kotick's money. It's insane. It's fucking insane. Why does he want so much fucking money? Not with that attitude. It's like, what the fuck? You could literally fix this for everyone. Make this a good company, both for the people that want to play the game and for the people that want to work on the game. You could literally fix this with your money. But no, you're going to fucking hoard it like Smaug. You and fucking Jeff Bezos and fucking everybody, all these billionaires in the world just fucking hoarding this shit like Smaug. Fuck.